Matt Walsh talking about how transgenderism is effectively over. What does that exactly mean? Of course, I don't fucking know. What the hell does that even mean? The ideology is over. People are no longer identifying as trans anymore, or some shit. No, dumbass. It's not that it's over. This is not the decisive cultural win that conservatives have ever achieved. In fact, that trans people are not going away. They're being forced into the closet because of you people being complete fucking schizophrenic freaks about this. Again, we all know about the history of left-handedness, right? When left-handedness was being heavily pursued or punished against or whatever, it's the same thing with any other fucking social movement. When people were more comfortable being left-handed, there was a backlash of it, and it got heavily fucking repressed. So a bunch of people are not identifying anymore as trans as much as they used to in comparison, because currently all the stupid fascistic far right freaks are currently in power, and as soon as the fascistic far right fucking freaks are no longer in fucking power, or it becomes more acceptable to become left handed or whatever, to write with your fucking left hand, and we're no longer in as a culturally sort of reactionary conservative time, this is going to skyrocket and eventually just plateau, and that's it. But I'm more curious, what exactly is said in this fucking thread? Trans identification is in free fall amongst the young. Non-conforming sexual identity, queer questioning is also in sharp decline. Gay and lesbian are stable, while heterosexuality has rebounded by around 10 points since 2023. What happened at the start of 2023, for those who may not remember? Oh, it was fucking Transgate with Dylan Mulvaney. That's exactly what fucking happened. So, whoa, I'm supposed to shocked Pikachu face when a bunch of people are not openly identifying as much as queer or trans because of these schizophrenic fucking goddamn freaks having a complete fucking meltdown over the fact that trans people are real and they exist and they participate in society like anyone else. I'm shocked. Not only this, but freshmen in 2024 to 25 were less trans and queer than seniors, whereas in the reverse, when BTQ plus, that'd be bi, trans, queer plus, I guess, was surging in 2022 to 2023, this suggests that a gender/sexual nonconformity will continue to fall. Will it though? Because again, like I mentioned before, the reason why this is happening is because of Transgate. Because of Dylan Mulvaney and the current cultural conservative backlash that fucking happened because of Dylan Mulvaney with literally just some fucking cans of Bud Light. And people felt like it was a lot less safe for them to openly identify as queer in any way, shape, or form. And then they decided to go back into the fucking closet. Again, graph of left-handedness withstanding, I anticipate that all of a sudden there's going to be a skyrocketing of people who are openly identifying as queer or trans or gay or bi or whatever as soon as the conservatives are fucking out of power, because this is always a thing that's happened consistently throughout history. What explains the sun reversal is not because the kids became less woke, more religious or more conservative. Those beliefs remained stable throughout the 2020s. Is it improved mental health? Yes, in part. Less anxious and especially depressed students is linked with a smaller share identifying as trans, queer, or bisexual. Well, that's a little fucking interesting. So you're telling me that healthcare improvements have made it such that people are identifying less and less as queer and bisexual? Well, that's not always going to be the case, because very often a lot of people who are identifying as queer or trans or what have you often purport that they are doing much better mentally in terms of their health. Very, very often this is the case. More than likely, what is happening is, again, like I said before, thanks to Transgate, the stupid, idiotic, schizophrenic conspiracy theory ginned up by all the conservatives complaining over Dylan Mulvaney and the Bud Light fucking cans. Like, this is probably the primary reason for as to why a lot more people are not identifying as queer or being open about it more and more. Could it be because of mental health? improvements? I don't necessarily think that's the main reason. I think that the mental health epidemic is still happening more and more and more because people's material conditions are not being addressed. That's the main issue. But are you going to have these people address any of those main problems? No, not really. Not at all. Because these people don't, in reality, they could give less of a shit about that, about those types of situations. Mental illness fell after the pandemic, but the sexuality and gender shifts have happened at least a year later. Again, what happened in 2023? Transgate. That's what happened. The decline in anxiety and depression occurred within trans, bisexual, and queer groups as much as among others. So it wasn't the case that most of these people who solved their emotional problems became heterosexual. The fall of trans and queer identifiers, whatever, seems most similar to the fading of a fashion or trend. I disagree with this. I think it's not because of a trend or a fad. It is because of Transgate. And I don't know if this Eric Kaufman individual knows about that. The main reason why people are not as open about their queer identities and are being forced to go into the closet is, again, Transgate with Dylan Mulvaney and the Bud Light fucking can. That's the main issue, right? Because of the conservatives having a fucking complete meltdown and basically trying to, well, essentially force queer people back into the fucking closet. That's the point. It's not because of improved mental health. I mean, that could potentially play a role. It's not because of a fucking fashion or a fucking trend. No. We are currently in the fascist administration of Donald Trump. And this is an administration that is explicitly anti-queer, anti-trans, and just wants to cause the suffering of a bunch of queer and trans people. That's the main reason as to why there is a current sort of decrease in people being forced to have to go back into the closet because, again, this is also a thing that happened during the first Trump administration. A lot of people who were queer identifying were forced to have to go back into the closet because Donald Trump set up a permission structure for his like weird fucking freakazoid followers and supporters to basically go out and essentially openly be discriminatory against queer and gender nonconforming people. That is the main thing. It's not about them being like having mental health issues, but also because of a fashion or a trend. No. That's nonsensical. That is fucking ridiculous. If that were the case, there would be a significant increase of people who were detransitioning, and that's not really borne out. That's not really happening whatsoever. It is, in reality, people being forced to go back into the closet, which is exactly what dumbasses like Matt Walsh want. He wants queer people back in the fucking goddamn closet so then he doesn't have to look at them because he thinks that they're icky and fucking stinky. Like, that's really what it is. He's just a stupid dumbass bigot who's nobody fucking likes, and it feels like he can just more and more be aggressive and open with his bigoted fucking beliefs because the current fascist administration is in power. Shocker, I know. It's really really fucking simple. It is just as the classic graph would show. It's this. It is just a bunch of fucking people being forced to be in the closet with their sexuality or their just with their sexuality because of the Dylan Mulvaney Transgate sort of bullshit that happened in 2023. And that's purely what it is. But Matt Walsh and his ilk are going to celebrate shit like that because in reality, they just want to fucking murder all of these people. And it's really not any more simpler than that. I don't think there's really much else to say besides Matt Walsh, you're a genocidal little fucking freak.